you are doing Hult Prize, whether you are doing an actors, whether you are doing whichever forum you're doing, and basically you have to know how to pitch. You have to know how to express yourself, how to say who you are, and what you're doing. So I'll give an example of a pitch. So there's this thing we call an elevator pitch. Basically, if you're watching a YouTube tutorial or you're listening to some motivational speaker, they'll tell you that a motivational pitch, an elevator pitch, is what you say if you get one of the rare chances of being in the same elevator with someone like Bill Gates, and you want to explain your startup or your innovation. So an elevator pitch basically starts with an introduction. So I'll pick some random example. An introduction will be like something like, "Hi, my name is Alex. I'm a software engineer, passionate for sustainability. If that is if you're pitching yourself, I come from some, let's say, the UK, and I have a background of developing business must do is solve a problem. So you go to your problem and you say, a problem is like we are addressing a growing of something like we are addressing a growing concern of food waste in households. This problem affects the environment. And now, if you are pitching to a venture capitalist, you'll have to mention something like, our primary consumers are environmentally conscious individuals who want to minimize their ecological footprint. And the next thing after saying what your problem is, you go to your solution, you jump into your solution. Your solution will be something like, we created some random name. Let's say for this instance, let's use the word eco foods. So we created eco foods, which is a smart refrigerator management system. This is something I wrote a bit earlier, so that's why I'm reading it. So we created eco eats. It's a smart refrigerator system that uses AI to track the freshness of your groceries and suggests recipes based on the expiration dates. And this reduces food waste and also makes your meal planning simple, which is really good. Now, the next thing that a venture capitalist will want to know, or an investor for that matter, is what sets you apart and what makes you unique. So, in this case, this example that you're running, you could say that what makes us unique or what sets us apart is our advanced AI algorithms, which learns to adapt users' preferences over time. And unlike other solutions, we don't just prevent waste, but we enhance overall cooking and shopping experience. This makes it personalized and efficient.
So, Joseph,
Um,
we have like kind of a question. So, do you think that it's really important to catch up the tension in the first part, in the first seconds of a pitch, depending on the target you are pitching, right? So, it's very important that.
yeah. Basically, yes. But what I've learned from my experience is that you do not just pitch, but you pitch from an angle of whoever is on the other side and what they want to listen to. So I'll use my examples throughout. Uh, I've been privileged to talk about what we are doing to the head of state in our country, the president. And the biggest headache for our president has been unemployment, youth unemployment. So when I talk to him about what our problem is and what our solution is and everything else, I didn't start from the point where, hello, Mr. President, we are the guys who are making biodegradable products, we are the guys who are revolutionizing the blue economy. From him, if I'm talking to him, I'll go from the angle that, hello, Mr. President, we are creating about 2,000 jobs per month. This is how we are doing it. If I talk to him from that angle, he wants to listen to what I'm saying and he's really interested and he wants to. If I wanted an investment from him, I would get it from him. If I'm talking to people like, Total Energies, who've been part of our funders, because last year we managed to win the Total Energy Startup of the Year. And when talking to Total Energies, I don't talk to them exactly because of water hyacinth, because truth be spoken, they don't really care about some random aquatic weed that affects communities. But from them, I go to here is how you minimize your carbon footprint, and then I go to how plastics emit a lot of carbon emissions and how the carbon emissions are a bad thing for the globe, blah blah blah, which they know. So you start from that point which they know, then you bring them now to a point of how do we reduce this carbon footprint? We make products that are biodegradable, and these biodegradable products make will make consumers want better products and this and you. So you make the person on the other side want to become part of the story. When I was talking to President Obama about what we are doing, yes, he cares about everything that we will probably be doing, but for him mostly is about the impact. How are we transforming communities? So to him, if I'm talking to him, I talk to him about hello, Mr. President. So my elevator pitch to him will be more on the impact that we are creating. So basically, what I'm trying to say is, if you're pitching, uh, the most important part of the pitch is to know your audience, know who you're talking to, and once you know who you're talking to, it is really important because that will tell you the angle that you're going to present your problem and your solution into. So, for example, if you are having a random product to help, let's say, expectant mothers know the right meals for them to eat at a given time, maybe you are creating an app for them, let's say, that will tell them all that stuff. If you're going to talk to your government administration, you're going to talk to them about how they're going to how they're going to reduce the prima how do you call the deaths of the young children and all that, because the children are going to be born healthy. And then that's where you go now to your app. If you're going to pitch it to Microsoft, you tell Microsoft how they're going to get an edge over Google or other platforms, because they're going to be the first people who are going to introduce a product that will really care about expectant women. If you're talking about women in some women groups, you're going to talk to them from an angle that they understand, and their a terminology that they understand. So yeah, so it goes to again being cognizant of the people you're talking to, the people on the other side of the table, because that determines ultimately how you pitch your whole product. Um, Basically, there are things that will run throughout whoever you're pitching to, but most of the time you'll find yourself pitching to investors or venture capitalists, people who want to pour their money into what you're doing. Um, for them, their interests mostly will be on number one, how much money are they getting? So you will want to show that you are profitable, and then that's when then they'll really care about, is there really a market, is there a problem that you are trying to solve. And then they go now to everything else, then they will ask you about the everything else, your team, your vision, how you came up with the problem, blah blah blah, all that stuff, how your growth is and your traction, where you're going to be in the next 5-10 years, and all that. So these are basic things that basically you need to have in your fingertips.
Okay.
Again, out of my experience, other thing I've noticed is that it will be a big red flag to investors if you don't know the numbers. So if an investor asks you the numbers, let's say for example you are running, let's say it's an app that's a social media app, and let's say it's just let's say it's a Tinder app. Let's say it's Tinder, and you want to pitch Tinder to an investor. So the investor will want to know mostly how many signups can you get in a month, how many people want to sign up in this app, how what are the numbers, how are they paying, or how are you generating revenue from the whole program or from the whole pitch. And from there, that's when they go to now you now pitch everything else about your platform. And
Excellent.
uh, yeah.
So
We're good.
that's yeah, we're great. But for example, most of the competitors that will apply for this Hult Prize edition, at least for the on-campus program, are people who are just in ideation process. They or do not have an idea or they just have the idea. So what will be a tip that you will give it to them if they don't have like the whole project created or do not have even an MVP? What would be your tip to engage the judges?
Good. Um, I'll share with you some really interesting story, true story. So I've told you that my latest startup was is an app, sorry, an AI platform called MC2 that tells you, that is an early warning system for all these um, uh, climate things before they happen. So basically, it was still in ideation stage, and we didn't even know whether we can do it. And what we did is we went telling people that we have a product, but at the back of our minds, we know we don't even have a product. At least we have an idea of how our product will look like, but we literally don't have a product. Um, I'll connect this to the answer to an answer of the question that you just asked. So we went told people that we have a product, and you guys would want to see our product because our product is really good, and this is what it does, and this is what it does. And that was a really good time for us, because people tried to tell us, no, probably if your product could do this extra thing, if probably it could cost this much and all that, no, that will be good, that will want something that we'll want to see and all that. Yeah, so that was something really interesting. But now let me go to Hult Prize and put it in the context of you guys and what you're doing. And I appreciate the fact that most of what you're doing is ideation stage. And basically, the beauty of being in ideation and being young in such a stage is that you have the time to develop, prototype, and change your and pivot really. The good thing with Halt is that you don't necessarily have to have a product for you to win, but it is an advantage. It gives you an advantage if you have a prototype. Um, I'll give you what's visually tested mostly on Halt Price. So number one, visually the pitch. I'm reading this directly from what I've used to judge this year here in Kenya on the Hult Prize. So number one is the pitch. So the pitch has three aspects, and all these aspects are rated from number 1 to 5. To where 1 is thank you for coming, and 5 is congratulations and go to the next stage. So first is the balance. They check, does your pitch cover the necessary elements? Does your problem and solution, product or market fit, business model traction, financial team and funding request, does it cover all that? Do all this basically the necessary elements of a pitch, are they covered in your pitch? Now the other thing is compelling. Now, at compelling, that's where you can win or lose, whether it is Hult Prize or any other competition for that matter, even if it's the NACTAs or any other. Compelling literally means, are you in a position to convince me as an outsider to listen to what you're doing and to give my attention to what you're doing, and probably if I'm an investor, to invest in it. Does your pitch, is it high quality, is it engaging? Most of the time, the best pitches in the world, if even you look at what Steve Jobs was doing when he was bringing in the new Apple products, the iPads, iPhones, and all that, he was convincing, he used storytelling, he used techniques, and of which I will share some resources share with you guys as well. But basically, uh, there is so much that you can do when you are giving a pitch. when you're giving your pitch and to know what you're doing. As long as you can engage this person, the judge for this instance, you can be sure you're going to blow away their minds and you're going to pass. And the third aspect of the pitch is interactive. Uh, did you manage the Q&A sessions? So the Q&A basically is, if these guys ask you a question, the callbacks and all that, if it's online, are you confident? Do you know what you're saying? And it's really, it's human not to know the answers to everything. And how this goes is that, let's say you're a team of 4 people or even 3, and you don't know the answer to something. It is really fine to say, thank you so much for your question. Let me hand it over to my colleague who can answer you. And probably your colleague at that time will have thought of some answer. And if it's maybe another pitch that you're doing, question, allow us to take some time to think over it or to do some research over it, blah blah blah, and we'll get back to you. Or if you can't answer directly the question, try to look for alternative answers.
I think Joseph has some connection problems, but basically what he was mentioning
Of
is that
answers that might be similar. The reason why
and
people will ask you a question after you are done with your pitch, um, there are several reasons. Key reasons why people will ask you that question they asked you is, number that thing during your pitch. Two, just asking you because you just pitched and you probably did just a shoddy job, and they want to make you feel like you did something. So they're going to ask you a question from your pitch. So the second thing that Hult Prize will look at is your idea. Basically, your idea. This is number one. Is it aligned to the challenge for that year? So, as you know, obviously, each year has a different theme, and and if your idea aligns with the theme, then you know you are somewhere that is an advantageous. But one thing you'll be sure to find throughout all the themes that Hult Prize will have now and 10 years from now and even probably 100 years from now, there has to be a social element. You must include, your silver bullet will be including an element that has something to do with the community aspect, something that, so that it shows you as a social enterprise more than yes, it's a for profit, but it has to have some effect to the local community. Again, then it has to be relevant. You can't just literally bring an idea out of mass or something that does not exist and try to say that we are going to develop robots that fly and carrying 100 people at a time, blah blah blah, to cover floods and so on. You know, your idea has to be relevant. It has to have a clear audience. It has to be a feasible solution, and that's for Halt and for every other place. And definitely disruptive. Um, are you saying something that I've never had before? Are you saying something that I've had before, but are you saying it in a new way? Um, the best idea that I've had of this from one of my mentors was, if you're pitching, try to think of it in your own idea of, we are the Uber for X. So, you know, almost everyone knows what Uber is, but when you say we are the Uber for something, something, so we are, like, for example, we are the Uber for food, for food waste, for example. We are the Uber for something, for medical transfers or something. That is, if you're having an idea that does something on ambulances or something like that. That's something that will be something that's transformative, that has a business model that I would want to put my brains into engaging you more on. The third aspect of Halt, which is really important, is your team. Number one, are they committed and are they capable? Do they know what they're doing when they're pitching, or they're just there for the joyriding, or did you just bring them because you had to fulfill some numbers because you could not do it as an individual? And as much as they're committed, do they have diverse skill set, and are they credible? So do they have at least some experience? Or we understand that you don't have a lot of experience by now. You are simply university students, no much background per se, but at least have you ever tried to do something on the side? And this is where some life skills come on board, where it is not only about Hult, but about every other place that you're going to go. Try to accumulate some skills that you could always bring to the table in a conversation, and that always makes you indispensable wherever team or whichever place you're working on. The fourth thing that Hult Prize will look at is SDG aligned. I hope you know. I'm not sure if you do, but I really hope you do know the meaning of SDG, the Sustainable Development Goals.
Yes,
Basically, the Sustainable Development Goals were made by the UN, United Nations, and the idea behind them, sorry, the idea behind SDG is getting the world to a place where we wanted to go by the year 2030. And by 2030, we want to get to a place where several goals are there: zero hunger. We want clean water. There's 17 goals that you can check out from the UN website. If you can tap into several of them, and the ones that mostly will be relevant for the Hult Prize you want to participate in, then you can be sure that you're going to be home and dry. Again, the other issue is: are you going? Is your idea impact oriented? Does your business designed to create change and impact at revenue stages? As it brings revenue, does it create also impact on communities and so on? And lastly, also measurable. Um, it is great to provide some key performance indicators, whether it is Halt or other places. It is good to say that by quarter 3 of next year, we are projecting to be producing maybe 100,000 pencils for school students for under the age of 5. By 5 years time, we project having probably offset 10,000 metric tons of carbon emissions and so on. That is basically what happens that's the judging criterion. Basically, if you're coming up with a team, if you have a really good idea, make sure you have a really good team. Basically, your team must be able to show up for you when you are not able to show up yourself. So have a team that you know you can count on to deliver as much as you can. Sometimes it is not always easy to find people who are good enough, but it is sometimes worthy to have just maybe one or two people in that team who can substitute each other. Let's say you had a tough exam or something happened and you had to rush home, and somebody else has to there maybe for that level before you go on to the next levels. So make sure your team is people you can really count on. Yeah, I guess Gabriela, done with 45 minutes. So I don't know if anyone has questions or anything.
yes. So yes, we will open a Q&A question side. But before that, we will just explain previously in a brief way what it's Hult Prize. So for those of you who doesn't know, Hult Prize is an international competition in which $1 million is given as an award for the best startup with social impact and environmental impact, as Joseph mentioned. So this has been the previous SDGs that have used in other competitions. But it's important to mention that this year, the Hult Prize Challenge is unlimited, meaning that you have to impact at least in one SDG, which is a social development goal, as Joseph mentioned, to be participating. So many projects are invited. Remember, as Joseph mentioned, it has to have a social impact, a social component, but also you can impact in others as environmental, as in economics, as in education. So basically, that's the challenge. Here we have a photo of the 2022 Hult Prize winners, Ecovana, which Joseph also knows, and because he really knows these guys. And we have to remember that Hult Prize is an international competition with a huge impact worldwide in universities of all around the world. So more than 1 million of alumni have been participating with 100,000 annual participants or even more, an annual expert pool, and more than 120 countries. So if you want to participate, maybe you don't win, but maybe you can know amazing people from all around the world. And that's something really, really worth to participate in on this journey. So the stages are basically four. First, we have our own campus program. I am the campus director of Center Zone in 4 campuses, Mexico City, Estado de Mexico, Toluca, and Santa Fe. And here we have Mario, who is in the North Zone, but later on and in our Instagram pages, you can know which campus are from which zones. But next year in February, we will host our own campus program. That's the first filter. And then the team that came as a winner will participate in the national summits. That's the second stage. And if you make up to the summits and you are a winner of the summits, you will pass to the Global Accelerator, which is on a stage where all the startups get mentoring and they fast track building their companies. They basically accelerate their idea so they can pitch in the global finals. And in the global finals, they will choose one winner. This edition of 2023, yes, Joseph?
This is really good. I wanted to jump in and probably say, so then if you have a really really good project and a really really good idea, remember that it is not exactly tied to Hult Prize. There are so many competitions out there that you can participate in. I personally know of several startups that were turned down at Hult Prize, but what they did is that they took the feedback that the judges had given them and they used that to grow and develop, such that by the time they were doing their next project, same project, but the time they were doing the next pitch, they had learned so much that they were getting to win their next competitions. So remember, at least if you do not win exactly the global finals, life is not finished and you're not yet done. You still, if you really have a good idea, remember you can pick up from where you are and scale it up to whichever levels you can. Also, to mention about the Ecobana guys, they are my friends. Yes, here from here, Kenya. They were the winners of the last year's Hult Prize competition. They make biodegradable pads from bananas, and it's a really good thing they're doing. But part of the story is that they were turned down before, and what they picked up themselves and they took the lessons they had learned from each step of the way. And by the time they were going to the next levels in Hult Prize, they were literally unstoppable because they had a really good idea. They had some prototype. They had tried to develop throughout the whole way, and they had picked the lessons from their previous failed pitches and all that. So yeah, that's something that I would tell you guys: never stop learning. Oh, Gabriela, you can continue.
Yes, thank you, Joseph. Yes, and of course, as Joseph mentioned, Hult Prize really is a cool context to participate, even if you don't have like an established idea or you don't have the team. It's really good to participate in the first edition, and you can participate and participate as long as you stay as a university student every year. So maybe personally, I participated in the last edition. We made it up to the summits. We were finalists in the summits. We couldn't make it up to the Global Accelerator. But what we learned was really, really high value for our startup and really make us to improve in many, many aspects that we couldn't see otherwise if we haven't entered to Hult Prize. So of course, it's not as if you don't win, it's lost. And there are, as mentioned, just many, many contexts in, but Hult Prize really can boost your enterprise, even if you don't win that $1 million. It is important to mention that this edition, they gave $1.5 million, 1 million to the first team and $100,000 for the rest of the teams, the other 5 teams. So maybe this year, we don't exactly know if it's going to be the same, but it's a really cool opportunity. And networking also, it's really, really high value. So to finish, yes, this is our on-campus program. Also, if you want to join us as part of our committee, we have open applications to be part of the committee on our on-campus program in Tec de Monterrey. But if you want to know more about what it's Hult Prize and what can it gives to you, this is the social media of Hult Prize. You can type it on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube, and also their webpage. You literally just type Hult Prize, and they have all the information. And remember, this is a really, really nice experience as a university student to be part, not just as a competitor, also as a judge, as Joseph mentioned. And this could be really your first steps into being an entrepreneur or just having the experience and making up friends. It's really, really amazing. And we really invite you to be part of Hult Prize. So finally, and just to end up this first Hult Talks session, if you have any questions, we have some minutes left. And if not, well, just to close up the session, but if anyone has a question or something you would like to add, Joseph, just to close.
Okay, I don't see any questions. But if anyone has any question or will want to reach out, my social media is open for all. Um, Instagram, X, LinkedIn, Facebook. You can reach out to me. The only place you will find me is TikTok, at Joseph Nguthiru, all platforms. And yeah, it will be really great to connect with you guys. And if any one of you is going to COP 28 in UAE, please let me know. Reach out. I will be there as well. Um, yeah, that's my platform. That's my handle. And yeah, um, I don't know if I have anything else to say, but yep.
I think and no one has any more questions. So I leave out the Instagram of Joseph. I think you also have a webpage. But any questions? Joseph is a really, really cool guy and he's a leader. Believe me, he's awesome. So thank you so much, Joseph, for being the first speaker in our Hall Talks. And it was a pleasure to have you here. And I hope everyone got inspired by Joseph's story and by his tips, who are really clever because he has been in the side of the judges. So they are really useful tips. So thank you very much, everyone. And that was everything for this first Hult Prize sessions.
Thank you, everyone.